I'm in such a great mood today, guys. I have been listening to some 90s and early 2000s music, and I love 80s, 90s, 2000s music. I mean, they were a different vibe altogether. It was so nostalgic to listen to all those old songs and groove to them, you know, the 90s or 2000s boy band and early Linkin Park. Oh my God, I just love all kind of music, and it was such a nice experience to listen to all those old goodies. Anyways, for today's video, I have a quick mini book haul for you guys. So let me straight away show you the first book. The first one is a book that I want to start reading today because we have a live coming up with the author Jani Words next Saturday, that is 8th of July, and that is Peril's Gate. And I'm really looking forward to this, guys. This series is turning out to be one of my favorite series, and I sincerely hope that every book lover, every fantasy book lover reads this fantastic series. If you have plans to start a new series, then do not think twice, pick it up. Next up is a book, it's a non-fiction book. I picked it up based off an interview I was just randomly watching on YouTube. Something was suggested to me. This book is based on Indian cooking, and it's called Masala Lab by Krish Ashok, The Science of Indian Cooking. And you know, there are so many myths surrounding food and, you know, food preservation, etc. in India, especially, like, for example, don't eat refrigerated food, right? And all that. So he is trying to mostly debunk those myths, and also looking into, say, for example, why do we use the knuckle of the index finger for measurement, right? So all these things, you know what I'm talking about if you're an Indian, right? Like when you keep rice for cooking in the pressure cooker, how do you measure how much water? You just dip your hand like this, and then you know where exactly the water should be, right? So these intuitive things, so what is the science behind that? So those are the interesting things that he is exploring in this book. So I was really interested when I saw that discussion online, and I thought, okay, I need to give his book a try. He seemed like a very well informed and scientifically knowledgeable person, so I wanted to read this book. Next up is a book that I picked up based on a suggestion that I saw on Instagram, on my Instagram feed, or Bookstagram feed, and that is Murder in Old Bombay. And I found the premise very interesting. So it's 1892. Bombay is the center of British India. Nearby, Captain Jim Agnihotri lies in Pune Military Hospital, recovering from a skirmish on the wild northern frontier, with little to do but reread the tales of his idol Sherlock Holmes and browse the daily papers. Sherlock Holmes is my favorite too. The case that catches Captain Jim's attention is being called the crime of the century. Two women fell from the busy university's clock tower in broad daylight. Moved by Adi, the widower of one of the victims, his certainty that his wife and sister did not commit suicide, Captain Jim approaches the Parsi family and is hired to investigate what happened that terrible afternoon. So this looks like a very cozy, investigative crime thriller kind of thing, along the lines of Sherlock Holmes, and because of that, it's right up my alley, and that's why I picked this book up. I love the cover also. Sorry, I forgot to mention the author's name. It is Nev March. Another cooking related book that I bought because it came as a bundle offer on Amazon when I ordered The Science of Indian Cooking by Krish Ashok. That is The Indian Pantry by Veer Sanghvi. So if you're an Indian, you know who Veer Sanghvi is, right? So what is this? The way we look at our food has changed a lot in the last few years. With a slow growing awareness about what we eat and where our food is coming from, we all wish there was an expert who could tell us everything we need to know. Why is haldi, that is turmeric, suddenly so popular around the world? Do avocados live up to the craze? Which fruit and vegetables are indigenous to India? From food columnist and star journalist Veer Sanghvi comes a collection of insightful, witty and myth-busting pieces about the ingredients in our kitchen. Quite interesting. I like his style, Veer Sanghvi, as a journalist, so I think I'm gonna like this book as well. And whenever there is something called myth-busting surrounding food, I'm in for it, because I hate the kind of myths that is prevalent across India. And the worst part is not just worst, it's actually a scary thing that, even the doctors here just parrot out whatever they had listened from their grandmothers and mothers, which could be totally wrong and have no scientific basis at all. So those are the things that I am interested in. So moving on to more fantasy fiction. I wanted to read this book since long. I've been seeing this everywhere on BookTube, like since I joined BookTube. That is the Greenbone Saga. So I bought the first book, Jade City by Fonda. And I don't know when I'll get to it, but I'm quite excited for this. I know that generally I have not heard any bad reviews or negative reviews or anybody disliking this book. And I think that when I took the book out of the shelves, there was some dust, and I am extremely allergic to dust. And I think I'm gonna start sneezing very soon. So let me film this before that starts. Next up is an interesting book, and this is the first time I've heard of this author, and that is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafon. This book will change your life, an instant classic. One cold morning in 1945, a man brings his 10-year-old son Daniel to a labyrinth library of forgotten titles hidden in the old city of Barcelona. I love Barcelona, but I have never been there, but I want to. It's such an intricately beautiful and planned city, right? Like the top view is so beautiful. It's so pretty. So I want to go to Barcelona someday. Anyways, back to the synopsis. Allowed to choose one book, Daniel pulls out The Shadow of the Wind by Julian Carax. But as Daniel grows up, several people seem inordinately interested in his find. What begins as a case of literary curiosity turns into a race to discover the truth about the life and death of Julian Carax and to save those he left behind. It seems like mystery and magic is there, and from the description and from what I see here on the cover, it's very gothic. So, and I looked it up on Goodreads, and everybody has been raving about this book, and Stephen King has in fact blurbed about this. Shadow is a real deal, a novel full of cheesy splendor and creaking trapdoors, a novel where even the subplots have subplots. In Zafon's hands, every scene seems to come from an early Orson Welles movie. One gorgeous read, says Mr. Stephen King himself. So how could I resist? This also feels like a palate cleanser book. It's not that, the letters are not that big, even though the book is kind of thick. How many pages? Let's see. 522, so it's not that big a book. 522 is okay book considering the 1,000-page monsters that I'm reading these days. And next up is an author, most beloved, favorite author of almost all booktubers and all fantasy lovers currently, and that is Joe Abercrombie. I have his First Love trilogy and I have read only his first book. I had to stop midway through his second book only because I had some other buddy reads and stuff like that going on, so I had to stop some of the books that I was reading on my own. So, but I got a good offer on the Age of Madness trilogy because I really need to get to Joe Abercrombie in the later part of this year or beginning of 2024. But I am not giving up on Joe Abercrombie anymore because I cannot hold back, because I so loved First Law. So I'm eager to get back to Joe Abercrombie. The first book in the series is called A Little Hatred. I like how colorful these books are. The second book in this series is called The Trouble with Peace. And the third one is The Wisdom of Crowds. So this is a series that I really want to start. If any of you book lovers, booktubers, book readers, if you want to read First Law and Age of Madness with me, let me know. Next year we can make this happen, or later this year. But reach out to me. Let's have some Abercrombie read along. So that was my mini book haul, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Friday, so have a great, great, great weekend, and I will see you soon in another video. This is Angie signing off. Bye bye.